terrible. There was a structural mishap. It wasn't installed correctly. This was probably a late 80s, early 90s remod, but it's decided to run the plumbing around this opening and then didn't do the opening correctly. This is not an easy task. It was off. It went high, and then it went down, and then back up. The floor was extremely unlevel. It was high back here, and then it went low. And when it went low, 1.25 inches was where it was off. And then it rose a little bit, and then it went right back down a little bit back towards there. When the floor was demoed, there was about, how many layers?
Like 4.
Yeah, about 4 layers on the floor. And then the final layer was tile. That was the final layer that was for tile, and the tile came up like butter because, of course, it wasn't installed correctly.
Today, I leveled the floor from the joist. And so the way I did that was I took a laser and I struck a level line around the entire room, a level horizontal line around the entire room. And then I took measurements 4 feet apart on each joist. I marked them all off, found my high spot. There was a wall here originally with a doorway, about a 30-inch doorway. There was an opening, a counter height opening within the wall. The wall was it was sagging because it was improperly supported. And so originally we were only supposed to replace the header just above the opening to get the sag out of the wall. But after we opened it up, it was a lot more involved than we thought. There were radiator lines, hot and cold water lines that were running through studs that were notched, you know, halfway through. They just didn't have any meat on them, and so they all had to go. And then we brought up the idea to the homeowner to open up the entire wall. They said yes, and so we came back through with 3-ply, 12-inch LVL. LVL stands for laminated veneer lumber. They're a lot stronger than like a regular, 2x4, or in this case, a regular 2x12. And so they can span longer distances. Because the wall was improperly supported, the joist dropped about, I'd say about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And so before, because there's a doorway right above us, and you could see it in the framing and even in the trim work before we gutted everything. It was crooked and it would not close.
So basically, this particular area here was, once upon a time, an entire wall with, of course, a 30-inch door opening, as well as an opening here for a pass-through, in a sense, just to be able to see into the nook area. However, as Bryce explained a little bit earlier, there was a structural mishap that took place as far as within this wall. And so after it was opened up, of course, it needed to be taken care of. And so pretty much what you're seeing right now is, initially we were supposed to just open the wall, open everything back up, re-support what was going on as far as inside of this area in here with LVLs, and strengthen the sides, strengthen the bottom, re-support the bottom half as far as of it, and just shift the pipes over slightly. But then it was brought to our attention that, hey, what about just blowing the wall out completely? And after looking at it, snapping a picture as far as of the wall, and then taking the wall out within the picture, of course, I used my Android phone in which to do that. Beautiful, beautiful thing. iPhone sucks. And so I did that. And with taking it out, it just really, really opened up the space. And so, of course, confirmed with the client that, hey, the wall should pretty much go. And so basically what we did was, because this space, we're at the first floor right now. However, there are 2 floors above us. You have an active attic meaning that there's living space as far as on that 3rd floor, as well as the 2nd floor, which has another bathroom. So each bathroom stacks above each other. And so that being said, Bryce being my structural expert as well, we decided on tripling up the 2x12s as far as within the space. And 2x12s are an inch, or for that matter, 2x12 LVLs are 1.75 inches thick. When utilizing regular wood members, as far as with LVLs, you don't have to use that spacer in the middle. You use regular 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x10s or whatever, then you have to utilize a spacer inside to take up that additional ½ inch that you'd be missing if you attempted to sandwich those headers together. And so with that being said, you're able to sandwich all 3 LVLs together and then utilize the 2x6s as far as underneath for that king and that jack support. What's a king and the jack? The king sits behind the beginning as far as of the LVL in the space. The jacks sit below it to offer its support. And so we didn't just use 1 jack or 1 king, we doubled up and used 2 kings, 2 jacks to give it even more stability as well as support within the space. Then what we also did was, because we had to reconfigure, for that matter, move the pipes, at one point in time we were gonna have a couple pipes as far as over here going up, and then a few pipes over there going up. HVAC contractors decided that, you know what, it would actually be easier to just run everything over as far as to the side. And so that's how we ended up with all of our boiler pipes running over to one side and being able to come down and corral within this particular space over here. And so this space here, it looks awkward and everything, but we have a space here and a space here. And so it's bumped out 8 inches as far as from the wall to give us 26 inches off the back wall. And so that 26 inches off the back wall allows for the 2 pantry cabinets as well as the refrigerator to actually recess into the wall. It just looks like it belongs in the space. Look, let's just put it that way. I'm tired of trying to figure out words because menopause is like taking it all away. But at the top, so with the pipe and everything coming over to the side and so on and so forth, of course, those pipes needed to be covered, or for that matter, enclosed. And so that being the case, we built a soffit box. So pretty much it's built kind of like a ladder, which, you know, the way that I did is much easier as far as to do it this way. And so with doing it this way, you know, I'm able to get one solid piece up in the space, and any, you know, movement or anything like that, or any adjusting that I need to do, I'm doing it as far as with the one piece. And then of course there was already, you know, a top plate as far as added in. So basically you're lining up against that. And then we have these other pieces that'll go up underneath it to complete the box that's being utilized in which to close in all of our boiler pipes within this space. Now, because we have a stove that's going to be going here, I talked to the client as far as about adding, you know, as far as, in a sense, a taller countertop as far as at the back. So we'll have a cooktop stove here. With this being slightly taller, of course, when we have the stone top installed, it'll have a slight lip as far as over the back so that stools can go over on the other side, and there's seating as far as in here. But as far as the seating on the other side, it wouldn't be at the same level as the stove, which is what we didn't want. So we wanted that slightly taller for our cooktop and everything to go in, and so on and so forth. And so once we close this in, as far as with these other additional brace studs that'll go in here and just tie this entire box together. But because we have this cooktop coming in, we got to be able to get this exhaust installed in here, which will have partial glass, but we need to be able to get it in and then get it in which to go all the way up and through these joists in the ceiling in order to exit out so that it exhausts properly. And so we have to have, as far as our box here, it will be more open as far as than the rest of these in order to make sure that that happens. But all of this will be drywalled and, you know, cleaned up and everything. And then over on the other side, we have a master plasterer that's going to be coming in and replicating the molding that's in the ceiling. That'll be replicated, all of that crown, and will be installed as far as on the opposite side of this LVL in order to complete that look in there, and then the ceiling will all go smooth without the texture and everything in it. This little space right here, I will be building a nice little rectangular cabinet, and then we're gonna see about getting the same cabinet doors that are gonna go onto the kitchen cabinets to complete the look, but inside of here will be a broom closet. because if I just close it up, it's empty space. Even though we got pipes and everything in here, there's still enough space to utilize where we can get mops and brooms and things like that inside of this space. Pop some caster wheels on it and it'll be able to roll out and then soft close back in and keep the mops and the brooms and things like that. Now, waterproof as far as the bottom of it, so that should anything wet or whatnot go in there, it's not gonna damage the wood or warp it or anything like that. So that's pretty much where we are right now. We still got some blocking to do, so this has to be blocked as far as inside of here. And the blocking basically, locks it in even more. This, of course, this countertop bill, what Bryce likes to do is to drop the end piece all the way down into the floor and then block it from the lower level. So if we were on a second floor, it would be dropped into the floor, and then from the underside, more blocking added as far as underneath the floor to stabilize it so that it does not move. And then the blocking in between as far as these studs will also, strengthen it even more so. We got blocking to do in the bathrooms upstairs, and I believe that's it.
What sets us apart is the fact that we are a lot more knowledgeable when it comes to older homes, how they're constructed, types of materials, and hazards that you may run into when working on these homes, the type of precautions that you need to take, and trust.